Today's workout is a first trimester workout for nausea and morning sickness. It's 12 minutes, is gentle, and will leave you feeling energized rather than depleted. All you need is a mat. Let's get started.
Hey mamas, today's workout is a 12-minute first trimester workout for nausea, morning sickness, or you're just feeling kind of crummy. So we're gonna do gentle exercises, mostly lying down or on our side, that are gonna help you feel good and also get some gentle movement in to work your muscles. So we're gonna begin with some glute bridges. We're gonna work the glutes and then the core. So let's gently come down on your back, and we're gonna be lying down on our back for short amounts of time, but if you get fatigued, you can always turn over onto your side. Bring your heels close to your butt and drive the hips up, pulling the belly button in toward the spine, bracing from the pelvic floor through the lower, mid, upper abs, and then lowering down to the ground. So we exhale through pursed lips, engage pelvic floor and deep core, and then lower down, tap the hips on the floor. So all these movements are going to be really gentle. Go at your own pace. And if you're not feeling something, you can just skip it. I know how hard it is to struggle with first trimester nausea, morning sickness, or all day sickness, as I like to call it, because usually mine was worse at the end of the day. So using that pursed lip exhale to lift the glutes. And I'm in my first trimester now, so I understand just anything can kind of aggravate you and make you feel ill, smells, anything like that. So just be gentle with your body, be kind to your body. We're gonna add to that glute bridge a pulse. So we're gonna come up, pulse, and pulse. Some days, different things may feel good, or some things may feel worse. It just kind of depends on the day, but generally adding some movement will help with that nausea or morning sickness in the first trimester. So that's what we're aiming to do here. So we're just squeezing the glutes, staying in the top of that range. Now, it doesn't mean you're going as high as you possibly can. You can see I'm really arching my back. I want to lower down a little bit to keep that pressure in my glutes. I'm pushing through my heels and just a little pulse, remembering to take little breaths. You can exhale with each pulse or just take some deeper inhales and exhales. Again, whatever feels good. Just firing up those glutes, working the core and pelvic floor. So important for pregnancy, first trimester and beyond. And we're gonna take another break. Again, these breaks are about 15 seconds, but if you find you need to extend the break, decrease the time interval, the work interval, you can absolutely do that. It's your workout. We're going to come up to our bridge, and this time we're going to walk out front foot, back foot, and then bring the front foot and back foot back in. Let's switch sides. So we're leading with opposite leg now, walking out a few inches. The further out you walk the feet, the harder it will be. So if you want a little more hamstring work, you can walk further out. But if you want a little less, you can just take a couple inch step out and in. You're trying to keep your hips at the same level. So you're going to rock a little bit through that trunk, but as much as you can, you're trying to stabilize the trunk so you're not dropping the hips, keeping that tension, that pressure in the back of the body. So we're strengthening those muscles. And you could do some pretty good strength work even on your back. I know sometimes being nauseous, I was trying to think of like what makes me nauseous, and it's like getting up and down or like kind of letting your head drop. And so these are all movements I found that were more accommodating for nausea or morning sickness. So we're gonna come down onto our side here, onto forearm. So you want 90 degrees elbow under shoulder. We're gonna bend the bottom leg, and we're just gonna lift the top leg up and down. Exhale on that lift, you're engaging core and pelvic floor. Just a little lift to get those adductors. So we're just pushing the hip up toward the ceiling, leading with the blade of the foot, the outside of the foot. So we're not externally rotating that hip. And we're keeping the hips and shoulders square to the front. So we're lifted here, and we're even lifted here. So we're not sinking down into that shoulder. We're lifted through the underside of the waist. So we're really activating those obliques as well. And you don't have to kick very high. You can see I'm not going that high, as much as flexibility or just your anatomy allows. Everybody's going to look a little bit different doing each of these. Couple more here. Ooh, you can feel that burn. A band would be good with those too. So we're going to stay in this same position on the side. We're going to keep the hand on the hip. We're going to do a side lying hip lift. You can alternatively use this hand to push. I'll show you both options. So exhale, core and pelvic floor. We're going to lift. Or we can use this hand a little bit to kind of get some leverage to get off the ground if that's helpful. You could also take a yoga block here. That would help have add some stability as well. So we're engaging deep core and pelvic floor from the bottom up. So we go pelvic floor, upper mid, lower abs, or I said that backwards, lower mid, upper abs. And we want to keep those ribs close. We're not flaring the ribs, opening up too much by arching that back. Driving from the underside of the waist here, squeezing both glutes as you rise, and then gently lowering back down. So again, we're not collapsing or hunching into that shoulder. We're staying lifted. We're staying controlled. Rest. All right, now we're going to move on to a modified side plank. So we're going to stay on the forearm here, and we're going to come up and hold this for the 45-second interval. So we're going to engage that pelvic floor, lower mid, upper abs, close the ribs. Exhale, lift and look toward the hand if you can, or you can place the hand on the hip as an alternative. So don't be discouraged if even these movements are too hard for you or making you feel nauseous, aggravating that morning sickness. I understand some days you just may not be able to work out, but if I've learned anything my past couple pregnancies is that it's such a short period of time. Even if that nausea extends for 10 or 12 weeks, which for me, it lasted about 12 weeks with each girl, it was still such a short period of time during pregnancy and beyond that I had plenty of time to kind of compensate for those days I had to take off and those days I couldn't exercise. Even though I really enjoy it and consider myself very disciplined, it gets the best of us. Morning sickness and nausea during pregnancy is no joke. All right, we're going to move around to the other side. So just wanted to offer a word of encouragement. If you're not feeling like working out, this may be even too much for you today, and that's okay. All right, we're going to come to the side, other forearm, bottom leg bent, knee forward, top leg extended. Oh, what are we doing? We're doing the leg lift. So we're going to lift that leg up and down, just keeping this bottom hip off the floor. If you did want to make it harder, you could lift that bottom hip and add the leg lift if you wanted to add more of a challenge. You'll see that in some of my advanced core workouts. But even if we're on the ground with this hip, we're still staying lifted, like we've already talked about, keeping everything engaged. Just a little lift. So we're strengthening those hips, but just as much as strengthening is important, we also want to take some time to stretch and release. So be sure to do some of my prenatal stretch and release workouts too to help kind of release any tightness, tension in those hips and glutes. All right, we're going to move on now to that little hip lift. So just stay in that position. We're going to lift the hip from the bottom side up and down using that breath, pursed lip exhale. And I emphasize using the breath a lot because the diaphragm is such an important piece of our core. And if we know how to use our breath properly, that's going to allow the muscles to fire properly and function properly. And that's going to keep our core strong and avoid things like severe cases of diastasis recti. As much as some of it is unavoidable to an extent, if we can train our core to work properly, we can avoid extreme or severe core dysfunction and pelvic floor dysfunction during pregnancy. So we're going to continue focusing on that core here. And also taking some nice deep breaths will probably help kind of calm the nausea. If we're taking really short, sharp breaths, it might make you feel more nauseous or sick. So I try to think of things that weren't going to get the heart rate up too much. That would be challenging, but again, not too much to aggravate that morning sickness or trigger any nausea. Okay, we're going to come up and hold this time. Although I can't promise that you're not going to be triggered by a smell in your house. For me, that was probably the worst part. I had to leave my house for a lot of the days that I was sick because just the smell of things in my house, anything, the fridge, the oven turning on, just the house in general, I couldn't stand being there. So solidarity if you're going through that too. It's really, really rough, but it's worth going through it to get the reward at the end. Continue pushing that hip up. We're in the last few seconds. Nice work. All right, we're going to move on to some deep core breathing. So we're going to come on to hands and knees, but you can also do this seated or in standing, but I'm going to show you with my hands under shoulders and knees under hips so you can get a really good picture of what the deep core, the ribs, everything is doing here. So we're going to take a deep breath in. Just inflate the rib cage, 360 expansion. We want to take a deep breath out. So pelvic floor, lower abs, middle abs, upper abs, ribs. Now I'm not clenching, I'm engaging from the pelvic floor, lower abs, mid abs, upper abs, and closing the ribs. So you'll see that. Nice long exhale. And what we're doing here is just training the core again with our breath. And that's going to be really important as we progress through pregnancy, continuing to do some deep core activation, deep core breathing. We're going to stay in that position, find that core brace, and we're going to do a modified bird dog. So we're going to take the front arm and the back leg to the front and back respectively. So stay on that same side. So opposite arm and leg, we're just extending and tapping the floor. Exhale as you extend. If that's too intense, you can just do the arm or just do the leg. One at a time, just alternate the arm and leg. It's going to feel a little bit of a challenge here because we're going to stay on our shoulders for a bit. But if this makes you nauseous, again, you don't have to do it. Or you can always do a couple reps and take more breaks if you need to. And these exercises that I'm showing you today really could be for any trimester. Sometimes when you get further along, it's uncomfortable to lie on your back for long periods, but we're not lying on our back for very long. And for most people, it's actually probably fine to do that. You just kind of go on based on how you feel, if you feel lightheaded or nauseated. But anyways, this workout could be great for second trimester, even third trimester, especially what we're doing right here. These deep core exercises and bird dogs in this position is safe through all trimesters. So we're going to continue on the other side, back arm, front leg. And so when we do things like this, we're challenging our core stability, but also safely, because we're not doing anything where we could fall on our stomach. We're supported, but we're still taking that arm and leg away from the body. So that's going to add a stability component. Since we're taking away some of our support base here, squeezing that glute, exhale through pursed lips, reaching as far out as we can. But again, if that's too much, you can alternate the leg and the hand reaching. Just a few more here. Good work. Okay, we are done. That's it for the workout. So I hope you all enjoyed that. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know where you're at in your pregnancy, if you're also in your first trimester and what you're going through. I can totally relate. This is my third time around, so I do have some experience, but I still am sure I have a lot left to learn, as every pregnancy is different. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you're feeling better. If you are nauseous and struggling with morning sickness, just know it gets better. And be sure to check out my channel. I have many other prenatal workouts for you to try, as well as more to come as I progress through my pregnancy. I'm going to be working out alongside you as I progress through each trimester. So I'll see you back here for our next workout together.